This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The champ is
the one that everybody wants, me.
It's going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
And welcome to the WrestleMania 39 preview and prediction show. It is finally here. It is time to deliver. Maybe stand and deliver, pun intended, although I'm not standing. My WrestleMania 39 predictions, preview, and boy, this was a difficult one. Some of these matches really strained my brain, still do. And some of them, I don't have a prediction. I'm that on the fence, and I'm going to just go with how I feel in the moment I'm delivering the prediction. So, guys, it's time. And by the way, those of you on Patreon who are on the SmackDown tier and higher, don't forget, that contest still stands. If you give me all of your WrestleMania predictions and you get them all right, I'll refund you your entire monthly patronage. So, just a little bit of a contest if you're interested. And by the way, I got to promote this because I'd be a fool not to. It's WrestleMania season, which means it's the biggest week of our wrestling lives. And if you want to go ad-free, you can do that at patreon.com/WWE Podcast. $1 a month gets you in the door ad-free. Or you can go to Apple Podcasts right now and click on that ad-free button, and it gets you 1 week for free, which means every single show we do for the next week, including WrestleMania previews and reviews and everything else, are going to be ad-free for you over at Apple Podcasts for a week, and then it's $2.99 a month over there. Or WWEpodcast.com is also available to you for the same amount. So, okay. All right. Enough of this anticipation. Let's do this. We're going to go with night 1 and night 2, respectively. This is going to be the night 1 lineup, and then we'll do the night 2 lineup according to WWE.com. So, you guys ready? All right. Night 1, as we all know, it is starting with the United States Championship, Austin Theory versus John Cena. I have said before, and I'll say it again, this is going to be a John Cena open to WrestleMania. It's going to get the crowd going. It should. Austin Theory will come out afterwards to likely a chorus of boos. The crowd's going to be hot for this. It's John Cena, for God's sakes, right? I expect this to be a very competitive match. I expect this to be probably in the neighborhood of 12 to 14 minutes. I don't expect a long match here, but I do expect a fun, well laid out, smooth match. I know that John Cena hasn't been in the ring very much, but he just seems to get on a bike and remember how to ride. I don't expect this to be a 5-star classic, but certainly it's going to be an entertaining match. It's going to have some nice near falls. As always, the AA is going to be kicked out of because I don't know the last time the AA wasn't kicked out of. So we'll have that. And probably maybe a kick out of the A-Town Down. I don't know if anyone's kicked out of A-Town Down yet, but it may happen here given it's WrestleMania. And ultimately, who wins? I'm going to go Austin Theory. And this is not an easy one for me. This is actually the one that I had on the fly decided to see how I feel after I explain the match and set the stage for myself. And the reason it's not easy is because of the placement of this match. You have John Cena and you have Austin Theory at the beginning of the show. WWE likes to present a babyface win at the beginning of the show, and usually a babyface win to end the show, especially at WrestleMania. Although that's been kind of smashed by Roman Reigns over the last 3 years, right? But I expect Austin Theory to win. Why? Because it's the right thing to do. John Cena is a smart guy. He understands where he's at in the stage of his career. He's in the give back stage of his career. He's not in the, hey, let's build John Cena stage. John Cena's got a bunch of projects going on. He doesn't need WWE. He's coming in for a match with Austin Theory. And look, Austin Theory should be the favorite in this match. Not because he is capable of beating John Cena, at least in terms of heel and babyface dynamic, beating John Cena straight up. Perhaps we have Austin Theory to some kind of, I don't know if it's pull the tights or a foreign object. But I don't know if they'll have him beat John Cena clean. I wouldn't hate it, but I don't know if they value Austin Theory that highly yet that he's going to beat John Cena clean at WrestleMania. Either way, I still think Austin Theory should win. A win by John Cena wouldn't really do anything for Cena. It can only hurt Theory. And I kind of feel this way with another match that I alluded to last night. I just think there's no reason to have John Cena win outside of, oh my God, cool, John Cena's U.S. champion again. Is he going to do the United States Open Challenge again? It's just nothing more than a feel-good nostalgic moment. Very short-term gain for a long-term loss. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I understand the temptation to do it, but I wouldn't do it. It's about building for the future, and I think Austin Theory wins this one. All right, let's get to the next match. And that is the SmackDown Women's Championship, Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley. You know, this one is about as easy as it gets. And I would not play cute with this if I was WWE. WWE knows that the fans know that Rhea Ripley is a heavy favorite. Almost an overwhelming favorite. And she should be. The fans I could see might organically gravitate to Rhea throughout the match. And by the way, patrons, if I get all of these right, you guys owe me double your monthly contribution. Just forgot to mention that. But I expect this to be a competitive match, as it should be, as every match on the card probably will be. But ultimately, Charlotte cannot win unless the goal is to do a double turn. If the goal is to do a double turn, then that you've successfully implemented that. Because Rhea Ripley is on her way to superstardom. This is the year of Ripley as it should be. And the fans will not accept anything less. Charlotte Flair doesn't need a championship. The fans have, at least this go around of a babyface attempt with Charlotte's character, accepted her the most that she's been accepted as a babyface since they've tried the babyface thing with Charlotte a few times. But they aren't super invested, organically connected to Charlotte Flair as a babyface. I think you could keep Charlotte a babyface here, even if Rhea Ripley wins. And that's probably the best course of action. If you want to keep Charlotte baby, then you need to have Rhea win and win clean. And not have Charlotte be a sore loser and attack Rhea after the match or anything like that. Again, just continue down the road of Charlotte as a babyface. I know it doesn't feel as organic as her as a heel, but you know it's as good as it's been so far with her as a babyface. Let's try it. But this match is all about Rhea. It is Rhea's time. There is no other option. This one, if you were going to put any money on it, this is the one to do. This is the match to put your money on because it just doesn't make sense at all for any other outcome unless your goal is to do a double turn and just flat out piss off the fans. But I could see a complete flip here where the fans boo Charlotte and cheer Rhea. I mean, it's a WrestleMania crowd, especially Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. It's going to be hot, and I could see the fans doing that, but Rhea comes out on top. All right. Next one, the Undisputed Tag Team Championships, the Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. I think this has the chance to, and it should, close out night one. This should main event night one. There's no other match, at least in the card that they've shown us for night one, that is a bigger match than the Undisputed Tag Team Championship of the Usos versus KO and Sami. This should be fun. This could also be match of the night, among others. I think Seth Rollins, Logan Paul, we'll get to that in a few minutes. But this has a chance to be match of the night. And it's the main event spot for night one. And it's deserving of that. The storyline has absolutely warranted that. The crowd is going to be very hot for Sami and KO. They will likely play along and boo the Usos, as they should. All parties have done excellent jobs in acting. Just literally pure acting ability, not even in-ring. In-ring is just a whole nother level of greatness that all four of these men have in their back pocket, and I think you'll see on display in a big way here in the main event. I expect this match to probably go 15, 20 minutes. As it should. It's the main event. I don't see how it's not the main event. I expect a victory here for Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, though. That's my prediction. It's not overwhelming in terms of the favorite for Sami and Kevin, right? Because the Usos have done great jobs as tag team champions. So it's not like we feel like, oh my God, we just need to get the belts off them. Like, it's been a long time, but it doesn't feel like the fans are just so done with it. It feels like everyone's invested in this story. So you could make a case, a strong one, for the Usos retaining. But if it's the main event and you want to conclude the story here and really deliver a blow to the bloodline, take those championships off of the Usos. That's what I think they'll do here. Crowd's going to pop huge. The announcers are going to, scream and yell and talk about how big of a moment this is and what is Roman going to do? How is Roman going to react that the Usos lost the tag team championships? All that. Now, if you want a devil's advocate, Kevin and Sami lose, beat up the Usos after, and then maybe Rated RKO comes out and challenges the tag team champions. I mean, I don't know. It's possible Randy Orton and Matt Riddle here come out and maybe make the save or even the odds if Solo Sikoa tries to get involved. It's possible, right? I mean, Randy Orton is heavily expected to return tomorrow night, or Saturday night rather, and Riddle could be following in suit. I don't know if they're coming back as a team or if it's just Randy solo, but no pun intended. I think that, sorry guys, I don't mean for all the puns. I really don't. Some of them are not intentional. But I think Randy Orton is a lock to return. And if he's going to return, wouldn't it make sense for him to return to oppose the group that put him on the shelf, storyline-wise? I don't know. I mean, there's a case there. So if the Usos win, I could see Rated RK Bro coming down and challenging and laying out the Usos. Absolutely plausible. So this one is not a slam dunk by any means. I'd say like 60-40, 55-45 that Kevin and Sami win. Because if the plan is for Rated RK Bro, then you don't want Rated RK Bro versus Kevin and Sami. Babyface team versus babyface team. That's not always a fun dynamic because the fans are forced to choose, and then you may end up hurting one team inadvertently. So there you go. That's my pick. All right. Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish versus Damage Control, Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. Don't forget the undisputed, or they're not undisputed, but the women's tag team championships are not on the line here, which is bizarre. And this one I expect an okay match. I mean, with Becky in there, you're going to have some actual good, maybe chain wrestling, actual wrestling where Lita and Trish are kind of give the fans your greatest hits. So Becky Lynch is probably going to do a lot of the heavy lifting in this match, followed by Lita, then followed by Trish. You'll see the chick kick, you'll see you'll see the moonsault, Lita salt, whatever. And I think this one is a bit of a red herring. I think this one could absolutely end with Damage Control winning, and actually that's my pick. Because while it's fun to think of Lita, Trish, and Becky winning as a nostalgic win, Damage Control needs some help. If the plan is to keep Damage Control as a faction, they need momentum. They need a victory because they have been irrelevant. As Becky said, Dakota Kai and Io Sky have done absolutely nothing since SummerSlam. And if you want to get any kind of momentum behind them and your plan is to somehow resurrect them, they need this victory. And they need it desperately. And there's no championships on the line, so no harm done. Lita, Trish, and Becky are certainly not going to be hurt by this loss. So I think that's probably what happens. I think maybe or Trish turns on Becky. I've heard of that narrative as well. Maybe Trish turns heel and you get a Becky-Trish match at Backlash. But the problem with that is Becky and Lita are champions, and if they're champions, how do they defend the belts? If Trish is, it gets muddy. So my point is, I'm sticking with Damage Control getting the victory here because they need it. Okay, next match. And again, guys, this is in no particular order. This is just the order in which I'm reading them. Doesn't mean this is the order of the matches of the night. But Seth Rollins and Logan Paul. I have really enjoyed this build more than I thought I would. I have really enjoyed this build. The one lucky punch narrative that they've been pushing out has been fun. It's believable. It makes you want to see Logan Paul get his head stomped through the mat. It's been really good. Logan Paul has played his part very well. He is very skilled in the ring for how many matches he's had. The dude is just taking it like a fish to water. And Seth Rollins is one of the all-time greats. Hall of Famer right now if his career ended. So, you put these two together, very similar styles, both in their prime, so to speak. You have the potential for match of the night, match of the pay-per-view, maybe. Okay? It's in the conversation. And I think this one's going to go 15 minutes. And I expect Seth Rollins to win. Seth Rollins should win. And Seth Rollins needs the win. Bad. Okay? You can't have Logan Paul walk off YouTube and beat Seth Rollins. Now, he's a credentialed athlete. He's had a few matches. He has taken Roman Reigns, quote, to the limit. We understand all that. But he's been here for the last 15 seconds, okay? And really when you look at pro wrestling for how long many of us have been watching, he's been here for like 15 seconds, okay? Logan Paul does have a nice career if he wants to ever make this full time and not just kind of a side hustle. It kind of seems like for Logan Paul, WWE is a side hustle. But for Seth Rollins, this is his life. Seth Rollins cannot be hurt by the victory, but he can't be helped by the victory either, I don't think, in a big way. I think it incrementally helps him because Logan Paul's not exactly a massive star that if you beat him, fans look at you differently and it changes the trajectory of your career. It's not like that. It's just how good of a match is this going to be, and can Seth just get a victory on a massive stage? Because Seth has lost notoriously WrestleMania after WrestleMania after WrestleMania, and then loses the payoff. I remember Edge and Seth Rollins. He had Seth Rollins lose that. He lost 3 times in a row to Cody Rhodes before he got injured. Seth needs this. Logan Paul will not be hurt in any way by a loss. In any way, by any stretch of the imagination, will he be hurt by the loss? His career is too new. Fans are they're just starting to figure out who and what he is, and we have no idea if he's going to actually make this a full-time gig. No, I don't know what his agenda is. Logan Paul's also got a whole bunch of projects he's doing, right? He's got his podcast, he's got his sports drink, right? He's got his YouTube channel. The dude is also kind of multifaceted. So, bottom line, Seth wins. He should win. End of story. All right. The next one's fun. Rey Mysterio and Dominic Mysterio. Oh man, one of the best stories that WWE has also told. And if we didn't have the Bloodline story, I think we'd even view this at a higher level than we already are, because the Bloodline story has been so good for so long, so consistently, which is also very difficult to do, that it's kind of overshadowed how well the Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio story has been told, and really told over, you could really argue, over several years since Dominic came in. Now, the how long they waited for Rey to snap, I was a bit impatient on that. However, the fans took to it. I'm cool with it. Let's just get going, right? I'm really looking forward to this match. I don't think it has match of the night written on it, but I'm not looking for this to be match of the night. Some of these, like for just a pure wrestling standpoint, Rollins and Logan Paul, the story's okay, but you're looking forward to the actual wrestling in ring. Going to be a great match inside the ring. The story told in the ring is going to be great. This one, I think the story outside the ring is even more important, because what we want to see as fans is Dominic Mysterio get destroyed. Now, Rey is not out to kill his son. He's not out for blood. He's out to just teach him a lesson. So he's just looking to pin his son. Rey has never been ever in his career I don't know. First of all, I don't know if he's ever been a heel in WWE. I could be wrong on that, but I don't remember him ever as a heel. But being a guy that wants to just hurt his opponent. So he's not going to try to hurt Dominic, not only because that's not what his character has done in his career, but also it's his son. So there's that. But this match is going to be really fun. I could expect and will expect and do expect his family to be at ringside and shown on camera. And There's a possibility the Judgment Day could interfere here. We could have Damian Priest, who has absolutely nothing going on at WrestleMania, be a part of this. But ultimately, I think Rey Mysterio wins, and he teaches his son a lesson, and it's a feel-good moment. Now, I don't think that's all, though. I think after Rey gets a victory, and he's standing on the ropes, and Dominic feigns like he's seeing the light. And after he stands up, he's selling his pain, right? And he's looking at his dad, and he maybe he even tries to hug him or whatever. And Rey Mysterio falls for it, and then Rey knees him in the nuts and bludgeons his father, continuing this story through Backlash. That's what I think. So Rey Mysterio is going to win, but Dominic's going to get his heat back like that. Right after the match, after a couple minutes of celebration, Dominic's going to pretend that, oh, Dad, you were so right. You taught me a lesson, and I'm so sorry. And Rey Mysterio is going to fall for it because that's what he does. And then wham, Dominic's going to nail him again and get his heat back. That's my prediction. So, all right. Braun Strowman and Ricochet versus the Street Profits versus Alpha Academy versus the Viking Raiders in a tag team showcase match. And this one, again, kind of a low-key match that could end up being a surprisingly really good match, because look at the level of talent in this match, right? You have Ricochet, you have the Street Profits, you have Alpha Academy, you have the Viking Raiders, and you have the monster of all monsters, Braun Strowman. So this could be kind of a quietly really good match, kind of sneaking up on us, because it's got nearly no promotion, There's nothing on the line. And it's just, hey, here's the tag teams who can win at WrestleMania. That's fine. Ultimately, who do I think wins? Who should win? The Viking Raiders. So I'm going to go with the Viking Raiders because they need the victory. I could also see the Street Profits winning and then Angelo Dawkins turning on Montez Ford. If you want a big turn in that match to get people talking about a match you never thought you'd be talking about. But ultimately, the Viking Raiders probably win, and they should, because they're on the rise right now. They need a staple victory if you want to keep them as a real tag team moving forward with Valhalla, i.e. Sarah Logan. I think the Viking Raiders should win, and they'll probably pin, I don't know, Angelo Dawkins or Ricochet. All right, well, no. Wait, we got Alpha Academy in there. Your resident enhancement talent of Chad Gable's right there. So Chad Gable's probably going to take the loss to Eric or Ivar. All right. So that's night one, guys. As a recap, my picks are Austin Theory retains the United States Championship. Rhea Ripley wins the SmackDown Women's Championship. The team of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn win the WWE Tag Team Championships. Damage Control beats Becky, Lita, and Trish. Seth Rollins beats Logan Paul. Dominic beats Rey. And Viking Raiders win the Tag Team Showcase match. That's night one. On to night two. Boy, is this interesting. All right. First listed is the Roman and Cody, but I'll save that for last. Sorry. Let's go with the Raw Women's Championship. Bianca Belair versus Asuka. Boy, I'm like you guys. We're all thinking the same thing, and I've been saying it for a long time. But it's not like I'm the only one saying it. It seems to be a consensus among fans, and rightly so. No one seems to give a damn about this match. Why would we? I mean, outside of just the individual accomplishments that both women have had, and that's what they highlighted on Raw, hilariously, because they only highlighted on mostly, not the entire video package, but they just highlighted each of their solo careers, which I guess was supposed to, by effect, get us excited about when they come together. I mean, it didn't help or hurt, I don't think. But this is a match. They're not wrestling, themselves. So the storyline has been non-existent. Asuka has teetered on heel, but no one seems to really know if that's solidified or if it's just kind of like, we'll tease it and see how the fans react. And Bianca Belair has said next to nothing outside of her usual slogans and bumper stickers, right? And twirling her hair. I mean, that's it. So I'm going to go with what I want to happen and what should happen. I'm going to go out here on a limb. Bianca Belair retains, making her a 1-year calendar champion. From WrestleMania to WrestleMania here, she goes from coast to coast, so to speak. And then when Asuka goes to shake her hand, wham, heel turn. Bianca Belair turns heel, making people actually give a damn about this. So it won't even be about the match, which I think the match in ring, it's going to be really good. Do I think it's going to be as good as Becky and Bianca or Sasha and Bianca was the previous year and the previous 2 years? No. But these two women, with how good they are, could make up for the lack of just awful storytelling, really non-existent, I should say, storytelling, and make up ground in the ring because of how good they are. And that's their job, because that's what they have control over. A lot of times they don't have control over the promos or what direction their character's going, but you know what they can control? In-ring. That's where they get to tell their story. Of course, the outcome is predetermined, but they can, on the journey of to the destination, at least take us where they want us to go. And I think they could make up ground here where we don't give a damn going in, but as the match goes on, all of a sudden we're like, wow, I actually kind of care now. Ultimately, that's what I want, and that's what I think will happen. Bianca retains, but Bianca turns heel. How about that? A bit of a, I don't know. I think it's not a prediction most people are going with. All right. Next match. The Intercontinental Championship match. The triple threat. Gunther versus Drew versus Sheamus. I've mentioned a few match of the nights, match of the pay-per-view candidates. This is one of them. No doubt about it. They should probably get a significant amount of time here. Gunther is, has been an absolute monster, but an important monster on SmackDown. I'd say he is second in command to Roman Reigns in terms of importance, or rather foundational pieces of SmackDown, faces of SmackDown. Gunther has been absolutely brilliant on the main roster. They showcased him at a very high level, and he showcased himself at a very high level at the Royal Rumble. The finish of the Royal Rumble with Cody Rhodes was excellent. So, to me, this match has the potential. I mean, it's going to have some great near falls, some great oh my god moments. Ultimately, Gunther pins Sheamus to retain. And that's what should happen. You don't build a guy up this much to have him lose. You don't have a guy be the most have the longest run in the Royal Rumble ever since its inception. Build him up like this and then have him lose at Mania. It doesn't make sense, especially when he's a big star on the rise. See, Drew and Sheamus have you figured out who and what they are. You can slide them in the main event at any time. Hell, they may even win a world championship now and then, but they're never the real centerpiece. You know what you have with Drew and Sheamus. Gunther is still unknown. He hasn't reached his full potential yet, so you don't give him a loss here, for God's sakes. Sheamus can take a loss. It'll be fine. Gunther retains after Drew hits a Claymore on Sheamus, so Gunther takes advantage and pins Sheamus to retain the Intercontinental Championship. And then you get at Backlash, Drew versus Gunther, 1-on-1 that we haven't seen yet. And Sheamus goes off and does his, whatever he's doing. So that's how I think it should happen and will happen. And I expect a really good match here. Lots of chops, lots of red chests and woos and all that. It's going to be very physical. All right. The next match that is on the list here, Hell in a Cell, Edge versus Finn Balor. This is another match that, yes, we've seen it for like the past 12 months, and all of us are saying, please, oh please, God, let this be the finale, and it has to be. It should be. That's what Hell in a Cell was meant for, and I mentioned this on the weekend, the current state of WWE with Anthony DeMarco. I said, this is what Hell in a Cell was designed for. This was the intent behind Hell in a Cell, not to be a annual milestone or stop on the calendar of pay-per-views every year, but to be the end point of a program that's deserving of it. And that's what we have here. Edge and Finn Balor. Balor is, he's been very clear. He's going to come out as the Demon. Edge has also talked about tapping into his darkness, so I probably think Edge is going to go Brood / his typical entrance song to show that he's truly bringing out his darkness. And I mean, the entrances are going to be over the top for several stars, and Edge is probably going to be one of them. Same with Finn Balor. So it's probably darkness versus darkness here. This one's difficult. Difficult. I think Finn Balor wins. And my heart is saying Edge because I want Edge to win. But Edge has already beaten Finn clean. But Finn is, to be fair, also beaten Edge in an I Quit match under wonky stipulations, or under a wonky situation. See, I'm saying Finn, but now I want to switch. Man, this is difficult. This is the one that one of the matches that I was going to call on the fly. I'm arguing with myself in real time here. I'm gonna go with Finn Balor still. I'm gonna stick with Finn. That's what I said first. He's the Demon. The Demon's not undefeated because of Bray Wyatt. Remember the infamous top rope break that really just kind of derailed everything? Finn Balor wins because he's the Demon, and you want to protect that character as much as possible. So Edge loses here. It'll be fine. Edge will come back in 3 months to build for, SummerSlam or something. And Finn Balor, as part of the Judgment Day in that group, that's still a very hot group, could use the victory too. So I think Finn Balor wins in a physical, not bloody because it's PG, but a very physical matchup that I expect. I expect it to be one of those that also brings us in, even though the storyline people are exhausted by. All right, a few more here. Brock Lesnar and Omos. This one probably goes 8 minutes, maybe 10. I mean, that may be pushing it. This one, it's all about the tail of the tape, right? It's all about, and they already put this graphic up, the reach, the height differential, the weight differential, that kind of thing. And that's all they have to sell. That's all they have on this, but it's been enough. I mean, I've been making fun of it that's the only card they have to play, but if the card you have to play is a very good card and it seems to work and resonate with the crowd, then who cares if it's very superficial? The crowd's into it and that's what matters, and the crowd has been brought into it, and I have been more than I thought too. Certainly better than Brock Lesnar and Bray Wyatt when you think back about where Brock would be right now if Bray bowed out of the way he did. And anyway, so Omos and Lesnar is going to be exactly what you expect. We're going to have Omos dominate the beginning of the matchup, as he's dominated Brock so far. And the announcers, Corey Graves, are going to talk about how Brock Lesnar has never been manhandled like this in his entire career. And we've never seen anything like this before. Omos is just dominant. And then probably halfway through the match, we'll see some hope spots, and then Omos will squash them. Brock won't get hot until the last 25% of the match, and then go off with, oh my God, German. And then, he goes off and starts, going into Hulkamania mode and brings it to another level. Omos is stunned. MVP is stunned. After several attempts of Germans, he finally does it. And then Brock Lesnar, hits his finish, probably hits a couple of them, probably at least 2 F5s it's going to take to put down Omos, but Brock Lesnar gets the victory. That's what I think. In a match that I think is going to be better than most people think it's going to be, but it's not meant to be a 5-star classic. This is a kind of a spectacle match. And that's weird to say with Brock in it because he's such an amazing athlete, but Omos is extremely limited given his size. And it's a spectacle, but it's going to be better than you think, because Omos is, for his size, is still, with all his limitations, better than you think he is. I mean, I remember him and Bobby Lashley putting on a better match than you expect. So there you go. All right, a couple more here. Liv Morgan and Raquel versus Ronda Rousey and Shayna versus Natalya and Shotzi versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville in a tag team showcase match. To me, I mean, part of me wants to say Chelsea Green and Sonya because people seem to be gravitating towards Chelsea Green's character, and it would give that team a lot of bragging rights coming out of it. Ronda and Shayna don't need the victory here. Natalya and Shotzi, that's, they're kind of irrelevant, I got to say. I mean, when you look at just kind of where they're at they create, again, here we are, WrestleMania. They're creating these tag teams out of thin air as a smoke and mirrors trick to make the fans and the audience tuning in believe that they have any kind of division. They don't. These are just random individuals who had nothing else going on, and they got stuck together for WrestleMania to pretend that there's a tag team division for the women. So now, this is what you also need to think about. If the winner of this is going to eventually challenge for the women's tag team championships, and Lita and Becky retain those championships for, say, even a month or two, who could challenge them? Well, it's got to be a heel team, right? So let's do this. Rousey and Shayna win only because on the other side, Becky and Lita versus Rousey and Shayna. That's fun, right? The dynamic with Becky and Rousey is always fun. They could finally come back together, even though it's not the one-on-one that has impossibly not happened. It would still be fun. So that's the only reason I'm saying it. Otherwise, I would go with a team that probably could use the win. But if you're going to use this as a platform to say that the team who wins this earns or has an argument, a strong argument to earn a women's tag team championship match, then it's got to be Rousey and Shayna. How about that? All right. So the Battle Royal, that is also on the show here. And we do have Bobby Lashley as the heavy favorite, as he should be. And I have said this before. But the Battle Royal, while it's probably going to be on the pre-show, has never had a bigger star than Bobby Lashley in it, right? And he's the overwhelming favorite. You also have a few others in there that have a potential to carrying cross, right? He's in there. I think Massey is in there, so he's a heavy favorite. Okay, that was a joke. But my point is, Bobby Lashley is going to win this thing. I know it's predictable, but honestly, there's nothing that can, even if it's predictable, who cares? It gets the crowd going. Bobby Lashley throws bodies over the top. It's more entertaining than it would have been with Bray Wyatt, and I expect that to happen. I expect the Bobby Lashley, the Almighty, to win the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal. Now, could this lead to something happening in the match where somebody eliminates Bobby, cheats to win, and that leads to Bobby getting a match on the pay-per-view? It could. I know Anthony DeMarco, who I talked to on Monday night, said that. I don't think so, because I already have enough going on with matches. And I don't think people seeing Bobby twice would interest a lot of people in a grudge match out of nowhere in WrestleMania. So I'm going to go with Bobby Lashley in a very fun seeing him toss carcasses over the top rope type of victory. So it'll be cool. All right. Now let's get to the match of the match of the match of the match, right? The one that we all have been debating about, wondering back and forth about. Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. Okay. This match, before I get to the finish, likely is going to be the match of the night, match of the pay-per-view. Likely. But I also gave you several other candidates. Edge and Finn Balor is one. Logan Paul and Seth Rollins is another. And the Intercontinental Championship of Gunther, Drew McIntyre, and Sheamus is another. If I was to be a betting man, I'd still say Roman and Cody is going to be match of the night, but match of the pay-per-view. But all four of those matches could easily be in that slot. So, okay, guys, I've been back and forth on this. There was a point when I thought, oh, it's definitely Cody. He's going to win. I don't want him to, but I know why they're going to do it. And then I'm like, oh, no, Roman's got to win. This and that. Here's my pick, and I'll tell you why. Roman Reigns retains. And it's because of everything I've talked about, if you've listened to me over the last several weeks or months at this point. Roman Reigns and WWE have stumbled across a storyline that you don't stumble across often. And that is a group that's red hot, a storyline that's been executed more often than not perfectly. People are invested. You have a champion that puts on great match after great match, is coming into his own, and still, after nearly 1,000 days, feels like there's more to do. And I think that's the strongest argument is there's unfinished business with Roman Reigns and Cody, or Roman Reigns, and you could do a rematch with Cody. There's unfinished business with Sami. You could go back to that. More importantly, there's unfinished business with Jay that's eventually going to turn on Roman. And I think what's going to happen, Roman, after discovering that the Usos have lost their tag team titles, is going to start to disrespect and demean and denounce Jay and Jimmy and place blame on them, bringing shame to the family. You know what this means? You're embarrassing the family. You know, now how much more pressure I have on me. Roman's going to somehow make it all about him again. And it's going to start to fracture the relationship with Jay specifically more and more every week. That's eventually going to lead to a Jay turn. And we're all going to wonder if, oh my God, Jay could be the one to take down Roman. There's a story to be told there that needs the championship. Not just for grudge. I mean, there have been matches that have been proposed to me, like The Rock and Roman, that I said don't need it. This one needs it. Because Jay could claim himself to be head of the table, the alpha male in the family, and bringing back all the history and all the abuse that Roman has put Jay throughout the 3 years, right? There's a story there that the crowd would be totally behind. Randy Orton, same thing. You could go to Randy Orton. If Randy Orton doesn't show up to confront the Usos in their tag team match to help out and even the odds with Kevin and Sami, I think that Randy Orton could just come out solo. Riddle, I don't know, maybe he'll come back on Monday Night Raw. Could come out and or not at WrestleMania, but he could challenge Roman. There's a story there. That's a fun match for the championship, no? That started last May, nearly a year ago. So, my point is, among others, there's much more to be told with a storyline that is a rarity. This is a generational storyline, and I don't say that lightly or to hype people up for something that isn't reality. Guys, you will not see a storyline this hot for this long. Maybe the rest of your wrestling watching career, whatever that may be, or however long that may be. Which means WWE knows that they can continue to print money with this story. So maybe even if the creative part of this doesn't convince you, if you're on the fence, if you're WWE, the money part of this should. Because Roman Reigns is printing money right now. He's a big deal when he's on TV. And he's done a great job as champion. Yes, I wish there was a champion on Raw. But I still believe there's more story to tell and there's more money to print. They are a for-profit organization. So even if you somehow come up with this genius creative argument against my proposal, you can't deny that there's more money in Roman as champion than Cody, because as Cody becomes champion, if he does, the world, oh my God, he finished the story, right? Oh my God, people are losing it. But then what? Then what? You're sacrificing the 1,000 days that's not going to come along again. For a probably 10 years or more, you're not going to have a champion for that many days. And they're coming up on the cusp of 1,000. They're like 950 days. You think they're going to get 95% of the way to 1,000 and not see more money at the end of that, where they could, print, or not? Well, you could print T-shirts of 1,000 days. You can create all kinds of merch, documentaries, you name it. There's so much to be done with Roman as champion over 1,000 days. And after 1,000, then hey, all bets are off. I think then there's the likelihood of Roman after 1,000 days losing that championship increases exponentially by every passing week. Because then it's like, okay, we've made it. That's the finish line. And it should be. Eventually, we got to get to the end of this. And so to me, though, it doesn't make sense for Cody to win outside of a shocking moment. Cody, the fans are going crazy. Think long term here. Longer term. You're going to be cutting the knees off of this run when it's still got some life left. So, but the question is, okay, I've made my pick. Roman Reigns retains. But the question is how? And the question is what happens after the match? Both very interesting questions. I've taken a lot of time to think about this. I think Roman Reigns retains because he outright beats him. How about that? How about Roman Reigns outright beats Cody Rhodes? And I don't mean cleanly, right? When I say outright beats him, I don't mean that he babyface beats him, where he just hits with the finish and, oh, Cody Rhodes lost clean. No, because they've really done a nice job of building Cody. Cody's undefeated, which means like he's won 7 or probably 10 matches on TV at this point. So undefeated is kind of a loosely used term, but he is, since he's returned. And they've built him up nicely, and he has been slotted in the main event and felt like a main eventer right from the get-go. Even though I don't like his character as a babyface, they have. And credit to them, credit to Cody. So I don't think Roman beats him clean. There's a difference between outright and clean. Okay, so what do I mean? I think there is some kind of either lady luck, something Roman does underhanded, maybe uses the championship itself or championships themselves to hit Cody in the head with the referee down. Solo Sikoa, if he's not ejected from ringside at this point, could play a factor, as we've seen many times. The Young Bucks could come in to even the odds. And this is where things get weird. Okay, so I don't know exactly what that wonky thing is that allows Roman to retain some kind of foreign object, some kind of Solo Sikoa bloodline interference that we've seen a million times. Championship to the head, low blow, spear, 1, 2, 3. It is one of those, right? Because to pinpoint that is very difficult. But I think what happens after the match is the most interesting to me, because I think we're going to get a 4 and a 5-star match, and we're going to get hanky panky by Roman to beat Cody. But what happens after the match, right? So Roman retains. The fireworks are going off as they always do. Paul Heyman is standing there. But by the way, I've requested this. Can we please get somebody to create a feature on the Peacock where you can have a picture-in-picture of Paul Heyman's facial reactions during this match? Can someone just have a constant camera on Paul Heyman so we can watch his emotions? He is so fun to watch during matches. But what happens after the match? What happens? What I mean is, okay, so the fans are pissed, right? Fans are angry, most fans, although I expect some boos for Cody. Not overwhelming. I'm not predicting that at this point. I thought there was a good chance of it. Now that we're here, I'm going to say it's probably like 80-20 in support of Cody. But who comes out after? Because you can't just have WrestleMania where Roman is standing tall, the fireworks go off, and Michael Cole says, "Thank you everybody from one of the greatest and most historic WrestleManias of all time." And then you see the logo pop up, and you're like, "Oh my God, the show's over!" Right? There's got to be something to bring the fans back up. So here's what I'm going with. I hate to do this to myself because I have embarrassed myself time after time after time. But here's what I'm saying. The Rock comes out, comes face to face with Roman, gives him a rock bottom, and the fans are losing their S. Because, okay, fine, we didn't get that match. At that point, the fans are like exhausted from a night anyway. They're not going to boo The Rock coming out thinking, "Oh my God, oh, you're here, but you couldn't have a match." At that point, they're not going to care and just be happy he's here. And that he laid Roman out with a rock bottom. Because what they could do, as I've said, is have The Rock challenge Roman Reigns a year out. He'll come out on the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. Do what he did with John Cena. And challenge him 1 year out and saying, "Roman, you've got 1 year. Whether you're champion or you're not. WrestleMania 40, The Rock versus the Tribal Chief." And that leaves it up to us to decide if the championship is involved. It leaves creative open to decide if they want the championship involved. To keep Roman champion for another 365 days is challenging, but they could do it. I would still argue against that. You've passed 1,000 days. You've beaten everybody. The championship is not needed because it also tips the scales heavily in favor of Roman, and it kind of almost gives you the outcome before it happens because you know The Rock ain't going to win the belt. So that's what I would do. Leave it up to creative. Leave it open. You want to put the title on the line, you could, but you could just say that it's happening whether you have that or not, because this isn't about that. This is about our family, right? And the disrespect and the abuse that you've shown my cousins and my family. It's time for someone to stand up, right? You could really have The Rock come out there, and he's not to be in ring shape. All he has to do is deliver a rock bottom and a promo the following night and give us a 1-year build. And they did a nice job with John Cena and The Rock throughout the WrestleMania 27 to 28. They did, because they didn't talk about it all the time. It was just kind of like every few months they're like, oh yeah, and Rock would send a promo in or whatever, he'd show up. There's ways to do it. You can promote it for a year because you're not constantly promoting it for a year. But it's always something to think about. That's how you do it. And that's what I'm predicting. So that way, Roman could still have a rematch with Cody on the following pay-per-view at Backlash. You could have, again, Sammy re-challenge if he's not tag team champions with Kevin, although I think he will be. You could have Randy Orton, as I said. You could have Seth Rollins, for God's sakes. There's a story to be told with Seth and Roman there with the championship. So that's why I'm saying this. The argument for Roman retaining is significantly stronger from a monetary perspective and even creatively. That's more subjective, but I would argue both. Stronger for Roman than it is for Seth, or rather for Cody to win out of shock value and, oh my God, finally he's not champion anymore. Now, that's my official pick, okay? Roman wins, retains, Rock comes out, rock bottom, 1 year out challenge. I know I'm going to be completely embarrassed by this, I know, but this is like the last time I'm predicting The Rock comes back. If he doesn't come back on Sunday night, and confront Roman, I am done predicting The Rock is ever coming back. I'm just over. I'm done. Okay, this is your last shot. Now, what are my other dark horse? I'm not picking more than one thing, but here are some other dark horse options. Brock Lesnar comes out to help Roman Reigns. I've floated that around. That way you make use of Brock Lesnar in a way that you haven't been able to do for a while. It kind of feels like Brock's been happy-go-lucky farm boy. Bring him back to the beast, go on the 2-man power trip, or have Roman and Brock, head up the bloodline. But the problem with that is, hey, Brock's not going to be there very often. Roman's not there very often. But when they're there, it'd be a big deal. And Roman and Brock side by side, hell yeah. Now imagine, because then you're like, oh my, who the hell could stop them, right? And then, of course, I'm getting way in the weeds. That's a possibility, right? I think that's a very small possibility, but I think it's a possibility that no one's talking about, is Brock Lesnar coming out to help Roman. How about that? Okay, that's one. You could have Randy Orton come out, screw Roman Reigns, and Cody Rhodes as champion. Or you can have Randy Orton come out, screw Cody, given their history. Don't forget legacy, right? You could have Randy Orton screw Cody Rhodes when the referee's down, RKO on Cody. Cody's groggy getting up, spear, referee comes to, 1, 2, 3. Okay? And then Roman retains that way. I think that's very possible. So those are a couple of dark horse picks. But I don't know. I could go on and on. This is a fascinating main event on a lot of levels. And I'm standing by my pick. I think it's a solid pick, because people are looking at this just creatively or their own personal frustrations. And if you look at it through the lens of, hey, if I'm a business, what's really successful? What's my cash cow? Why would I want to screw with it? If I'm making a ton of money off this storyline and the Bloodline is the top seller of merchandise by a long shot and their heels, why would I not want to monetize that further until it's completely run dry, and not get a significant amount more of pay-per-view matches throughout the 2023 year, from the spring into the summer, even into the fall, with Roman as champion? And then you also have a looming Rock versus Roman match that, even if the championship's not involved, people are going to want to see that badly. And The Rock, a year out, you're telling me he can't commit, right? So The Rock would, on air, commit himself to it, and then he's locked in. No more excuses, right? So that, to me, is a much more lucrative. Again, you can't as a fan just look at this from creative and, oh, this is stupid. Money is a big factor in this, and it should be. They're a for-profit company. They're trying to make money. Why not? That's my pick. All right. Roman retains. I gave you some dark horse options, but I'm sticking with what I said originally. So, as far as other kind of weird things that can happen, remember, The Miz is hosting WrestleMania. I'll continue to say this. I think Stone Cold's going to come out. The Miz is going to run his mouth in some way that's going to piss off Stone Cold. Stone Cold's going to come out, drop some stunners, and we'll feel good, right? and we'll see some beer, and it'll be just a feel-good moment. Never gets old. So I think that's going to happen. Do I think Undertaker's going to show up? No, I don't. I don't think that's going to happen. Any other big names? I mean, CM Punk, I've heard, and I very much doubt CM Punk's coming out, okay? I would say no to that as well. No CM Punk, no Taker, none of that. But Stone Cold, I think, is a very good probability in like a just kind of a stunner segment with The Miz. And I think that pretty much does it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this preview show. Let's see how many I get right. Don't forget, patrons, if I get them all right, y'all owe me double. My PayPal's open. Oh, boy. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. Don't forget, we've got a lot more audio coming up. Part 2 of the mailbag is coming as well with Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan. They are going to be providing that to me very shortly. I wasn't supposed to be in 2 parts, but life gets the best of us, doesn't it? I mean, sometimes priorities take priorities, and that's life, man. But part 2 is coming your way. Really looking forward to that for Mr. and Mrs. Casual Wrestling Fan. And then tomorrow will be your AEW review with Ethan Black. Probably no retro, but on Saturday, I mean, we don't do retro on pay-per-view weeks because we don't want it to get lost in the mix of everything else going on. And there's just too much audio going on this week. Don't forget the SmackDown review with Michael Ritter. That's coming to your way, and John. It's coming your way Saturday morning, and then Saturday night, you're going to have the pay-per-view, and then you're going to have the night 1 review, and then you're going to have the night 2 review. And guys, I hope you're ready. There's an overload of wrestling audio coming to you. It's going to be so much fun. Get yourself on board. Go ad-free. Patreon.com/WWE podcast, or go ad-free for an entire week as a trial on Apple Podcasts. You can cancel anytime, but I hope you stick with us through WrestleMania and beyond, and go ad-free on Apple Podcasts as well. There's an ad-free button, or WWEpodcast.com. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. Hope you're ready. Let's do this. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.